What's up, Star Trek fans? It's Joe Cronin from the Joe Cronin Show. If you guys are wrestling fans, go subscribe to my wrestling and sports and entertainment channel, which is over 72,000 subscribers, 70 million views on YouTube. Go subscribe there. But for just plain old Star Trek, here we are. Now, today we're talking about something I found to be interesting. The promotional pictures were released not that long ago for the cast, and these are really kind of cool, like oversaturated color contrast photos with interesting way of the blacks look very colorful, to put it in a way. But the bottom line is the thing I noticed the most was today when a secondary image of Geordie LaForge was released with him and his daughter. You may have seen this photo out there already. I saw it, and I've seen a couple images of Geordie, and I don't know what the situation is with this. I'm just going to bring it up. Somebody had brought up to me that Geordie didn't have his implants here, right? Like he needs his visor to see, but around first contact he had implants put in. But here in this photo, if you close up on it, his eyes seem to not have that effect. But I don't believe that. I think it's just the shot, the still shot. It may be a photograph on set, not necessarily from the show. And that's why his eyes are just his regular eyes here, because in the other promotional photos, he has the blue implants in there. And if you still shot the trailer as well and blow it up, you actually see there that his eyes look bluish. You can see that he has his implants in there. So he does look very angry here. My theory is that people that are in the trailer, it's mentioned that I'll take a piece of every one of you, or something like that from the Vadic, the bad guy, the bad girl, the bad woman. And, so maybe something to do with Picard. Geordie's children are in jeopardy somehow, and Geordie is not happy about that. And that could be why in this scene he looks upset, which I certainly don't want him to be upset at Picard. We want them all to come together. I'm sure they will. But at first, he may be a bit irritated that, his daughters are at risk for some reason having to do with Picard. I don't know. That seems to be what's going on here. I don't know. But yeah, so I saw a few people floating around that, oh no, they didn't even put his implants in and stuff like that. And they were really running away with that. And I'm like, but you can tell in the trailer that his implants are in. So I don't understand how this photograph, I mean, I kind of get it. His eyes are not, they don't look bluish here and implanted here. I just think that it's a discrepancy of maybe that hadn't been edited in post yet, or maybe in this scene, something. Anyway, the bottom line is when you look at footage from the show in the trailer, he's got the implants. When you see the real promotional photos, he's got the implants. So there's really a whole lot of nothing as far as that little rumor or little suggestion that I've heard going around is. Anyway, I want to talk about more, and I'm going to come back with more, but that's just one little thing that I wanted to put out there. As we are so close to the release of this, I've found it very hard to avoid spoilers. I haven't been really spoiled, but there are things even that are spoilish in their own nature, and it's been really difficult to deal with that. I wish, and this feels like a show that I almost wish that they had released it in a different way. Maybe not released an episode a week, but maybe releasing the first 3 episodes and then taking a week off, and then releasing another 3 episodes and taking a week off, that sort of thing. But, again, what are you going to do? The corporate ladder and the corporate idea of things and how you have to release things at Paramount is the way it's got to be. So we'll see what happens. I did get pretty hyped for the first season of Picard, and I thought that would save Star Trek from what I'd been seeing of Star Trek and Discovery, and I was very wrong. Some of the nostalgia stuff was nice, but the story was awful, as you remember, and you may know from my reviews back on Picard. Although I didn't have this channel then, I've only recently launched this channel. So if you're brand new to the channel, I hope you guys subscribe so you can be part of what I do in the future here. And if you are from my bigger channels, then welcome as well. I know that 300, 400 subs right now isn't close to 70,000, and 10,000s and all the other thousands of whatever on my other channels, but it is nice to have this little niche area to talk about Star Trek. And I may eventually rebrand this into kind of more than just Star Trek, but right now this is the way it is. Great images from this season that have been coming out. I think it looks really good. At first, obviously, I was worried it looks a little dark, and I do think it does look dark, but there were times in the first season of TNG that it was a bit darker, and there were times, obviously, in the movies where things were a bit darker as well. I had hoped that they'd bring back some carpeting on the Enterprise or the Stargazer or the Titan. They don't have to go full carpet, but just a little bit of carpet to kind of like help transition from that look to this one. I always thought it'd be interesting if many of the starships were stylized to be reflections of time periods of Earth's history, which would explain why, the Star Trek Enterprise D looks like the 80s, and why Kirk's Enterprise looks so much like the 50s. And it would be interesting if part of the starship's interior designs were mimicked after time periods of Earth's history. That would be very interesting if that was ever sort of explained. It'd be nice if there were a couple starships named after philosophers, maybe, and those ships even had a Greek feel to them, or things like that, Romans and Greeks and stuff like that. And that would be an interesting way to sort of explain why that is. And as far as the criticisms of the ships over the years and the styles and what things look like, I've always thought to myself and explained it in my own head that, listen, in the future, they wouldn't be as obsessed with everything looking so technological. They would yearn for a more classical time. So the technology would be embedded into the aesthetics of a classic time or a different look, because in the future, that sort of is comforting to people, and that's more like how our future is now. Our houses don't exactly look like Transformers. They still look like houses, but we're integrated with technology into them. And that's one thing I think that Star Trek always kind of did well. It also helps with budget constraints and things like that, but it's one thing that they were able to do well and kind of marry together. And so that's how I explain the starships a lot of times. And I know, obviously, in the 50s, they made Star Trek TOS. So I always explained it in my head that, well, TOS looks like the 50s because in the future, they sort of like to pay homage to time periods in history. And they never ever said that or brought that up, but it's just something in my head that helps me sort of, explain that. But that's why in new Star Trek, it's a little bit like, ooh, because the stuff's like, and it's better when it's actually more basic, because I just think that when it's more basic, the technology is kind of there in the background or utilized, embedded in the aesthetics of something basic. I feel like that sort of stands the test of time better. You would think maybe it would make it dated, and in some ways it does, but I also think it helps explain and feel more futuristic when you don't exactly know how the panels work and how everything works. That's why someone can hold up a pad that's gray and the buttons are just colors everywhere, and you don't really see how does that actually make sense that it works. Well, it doesn't matter because it's so futuristic and advanced that we don't even know how to use it. There's not just a keypad to type the numbers in and stuff like that, which they did put in Picard and I think even Discovery. And I know that it somewhat makes sense, but I don't like it because then it looks like nowadays. Oh yes, we type keys in the keyboard. It's better when it's a little bit mystical. Like we don't exactly know how the science works, but it does work, and we believe it works if it's sold the right way. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I don't believe anything is up with Geordi's eyes here. I don't think so. I think it's just a darker shot, and the eyes and the contacts don't shine out here. So I would put that rumor, sort of speculation or criticism, to bed. Anyway, it's Star Trek Late Night. I hope you guys subscribe. Leave your comments down below. What do you think? Are you excited for Season 3 of Picard? Are you going to be watching at 3 a.m. on the East Coast on Wednesday night, which will technically be Thursday morning, or waiting until Thursday when you wake up, or waiting until Thursday night, or what? Curious to know. And I would hope that everybody would try to watch the first couple episodes and then decide what they think. I certainly will give it a shot. I mean, I've already suffered through the painful first 2 seasons. I might as well give this a try. All the people I love in my favorite show of all time are coming back together. Even if it's a dumpster fire, I can't look away. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if Terry Matalas can save Trek.